Act 2. About half an hour has elapsed since the end of Act 1. Duke and Jackie are finishing their meal at right table. Ruby is sitting on a stool at counter, drinking coffee, watching everything. Gramp and Paula are sitting at table at left. Bose and Squire are at center. The radio is murmuring faintly. Gabby alone is permitted to move about, removing dishes, refilling coffee cups. Gramp. That old Andy Anderson I was telling you about. He was a great character. He didn't kill for business reasons, like you fellers. He killed just for the fun of it. He was born somewheres up in Nova Scotia and come down to the state of Maine, so's he could get into the Civil War. And he fit all through it. And he never stopped talking about it as long as he lived. He always said that was a regular paradise for killing. He'd stick a Johnny Reb with his bayonet, throw him over his shoulder, and then stick another. And he always said that the beauty of it was there was no sheriffs around to reprove him for it. Jackie. Say, Pop, I wish you wouldn't talk so much about blood while we're eating. Bose. Got it on your conscience, eh? Jackie. On my what? Bose. Yes, I thought so. A punk like you hasn't got any more conscience than a coyote. Jackie. Listen to the halfback. How much did you get to play? How much did you get for playing on the team? Bose. I worked my way through college. Jackie. What were you doing? Peddling subscriptions to the American Boy? Bose. I worked for 3 whole years in the student laundry. Jackie. Oh, how nice. He lifts his coffee cup. Bose. Wait a minute, smart guy. I got something to show you. He reaches for his wallet. Ruby. Keep your hand off your hip. Bose. I was only going to show him a newspaper clipping that said I ought to be all-American. I scared you, did I? I know it. You're all yellow. A none too pleasant expression appears in Jackie's eyes over the rim of his coffee cup. Squire. I'd be a little tactful, Bose. Remember, they're your guests. Gabby has sat down at center table between Squire and Bose. Bose. They're a bunch of yellow dogs. That's what's made 'em turn crooked in the first place. Squire. No. Cowardice isn't the cause of crime. It has something to do with glands. Bose. They just haven't got the guts to face the bigger problems of life. They've got to fight their way with guns instead of with principles. Squire is by now slightly tight and is to become more so by imperceptible degrees as the act proceeds. Jackie sets down his coffee cup with ominous deliberateness and rises, picking up a sawed-off shotgun. Jackie. Step over to that side of the room, halfback. Gramp. You're gonna kill him? Bose, scared. It's just what I said. Jackie, come on. The shotgun scatters and you wouldn't want me to hurt that cute dame, would you? The dulcet chimes of the radio are heard. Bose slowly rises. Squire to Jackie. You know, you're taking this much too seriously. The radio announcer's voice can be heard introducing the nightly news broadcast. Bose. I'm not afraid to die. But his voice is strained. Jackie. Come on, move. Duke, step up that radio, will you, sister? To Jackie. Sit down, Jackie Cooper. Jackie. Did you hear what he... Duke, grinning. Sit down. To Bose. You too. They both sit down. Gabby has turned up volume control dial. Radio voice, very brisk. All anxious first off to hear latest bulletins concerning the greatest manhunt in human history. A monster dragnet has been cast over the entire Southwest from St. Louis to the Pacific coast. National Guardsmen are cooperating with state police and the famed Texas Rangers, as well as countless local posses and Legion posts, in a determined effort to apprehend the members of the notorious Manti Gang, to bring to justice this fierce, colorful band of murderers, kidnappers, bank robbers, perpetrators of the shocking massacre in Oklahoma City. Jackie. Take a bow, Duke. Radio voice. The gang made its escape in 2 cars, one of which contained Manti and 3 other men, the other car containing 3 men and 1 woman. The Manti car was seen early this morning at Tularosa and later at Hillsboro in New Mexico. The second car was positively identified at Esteline in the Texas Panhandle when it stopped at the local police station, held it up, and departed with a large supply of guns and ammunition. Jackie. Nice going, boys. I didn't see how they did it with Doris along to Duke. Shut up. Radio voice. Both cars are undoubtedly headed for the border, but it's considered certain they haven't reached it due to the number of and vigilance of the patrols. Wartime conditions prevail on all the roads of western Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And you know how the officers of the law are in this red-blooded frontier region? They shoot first and ask questions afterwards. Jackie indicates his scorn, but Duke withers him with a look. The governor of Arizona has issued the following statement. As long as Manti and his followers are at large, a blot of shame will mar the proud scutcheon of these United States. Any citizen who knowingly gives aid or comfort to these public enemies is a traitor to his country and will be answerable before the great bar of public opinion. I'll now give you the scores of the leading football games of the day. Carnegie Tech, 13, Miami 7, Washington State, 19. Duke. Turn it off, sister. Radio. USC 0, Navy 21, Virginia 6. Gabby switches off radio. Jackie to Paula. Did you hear that, Pepita? You're a traitor for cooking for us. They'll string you up for that if they can find a tree around here. Paula. The Holy Mother of God knows they put a gun in my stomach and said, you cook. Jackie. Sure she knows, but that don't count with the governor. We're public enemies. Duke to Ruby. Go on out to the car, Ruby, and tell Piles to come in and get his supper. And tell him to bring in that sack of ammunition and the road map. And you stay there and keep awake. Ruby. Yeah, okay. He goes out. Gramp. Are you going to make a run for the border, boys? Jackie. Oh, sure. We'll give you our whole route before we leave so as you can tell the hick cops and have them give us a motorcycle escort. Squire. I think I'm about ready for another whiskey, Gabrielle, if I may. Gabby goes behind counter and brings forth a quart bottle and a bottle of drinking water, which she places on table. Bose. Listen, panhandler. Who told you could call her by her first name? Squire. Now please, Bose. You and I must be friends as long as they'll let us. Jackie. Why don't you take a sock at him, halfback? He hasn't got a gun. Piles comes in. He is a lean, lithe man who carries a machine gun and a bulging gunny sack. Piles. Hi, everybody. About time you got around to asking me in. Here's your map, boss. He puts sack full of ammunition down on a bench at back and tosses map down on the table before Duke. Lord God, look what you've done to that chicken. Duke to Paula. Cook him some hamburgers, sister. Paula. All right, mister. She rises. But you people better tell that Mr. Governor I didn't. Duke. Go with her, Piles. Piles. Okay, boss. I guess I don't get to eat with the white folks. He picks up carcass of the chicken and starts to gnaw it as he crosses to kitchen. Duke. Look around in there and see if you can find any rope. Piles. Okay, boss. He turns quickly to Duke. When are we going to lamb out of here? Duke. When it's time. Jackie. Sure, as soon as the Duke connects with that heavy date. He winks broadly at Piles. Piles as he goes. Well, I don't like that dame stuff. I like to get out of range. He has gone out and left after Paula. Duke has opened road atlas to Arizona and New Mexico. And from now on, he and Jackie are studying it and murmuring to each other in inaudible tones. Gramp. How about passing that bottle over this way? Squire. Why, certainly. Forgive me. He's reaching for bottle, but Gabby stops him. Gabby. No! To Gramp. You've had all you're gonna get. Squire to Gramp. I'm very sorry. Gramp. Oh, that's all right. He reaches in his pocket for his pipe. Jackie. What are you doing? Gramp. Gonna smoke my pipe. Duke. Go ahead, Pop. Gramp takes out pipe, fills it with great care, lights it, and lapses into silence as he sits in his rocking chair. Bose. How long are you yeggs gonna stick around here? Jackie. Keep quiet, halfback. Bose. The longer the better, to suit me, because the U.S. government is after you, and pretty soon they'll be sending for your relatives to identify the bodies, and it will probably be the first good look at you they've had in years. Gabby. You better do what you're told and keep your trap shut. Squire. That's good advice, Bose, because those glandular phenomena I was talking about manifest themselves in sudden and violent ways. Bose, savagely. How are you going to pay for all that liquor you're drinking? Bose is in an ugly mood, the result of humiliating frustration, and he is taking it out on the one completely defenseless person present. Squire. I can pay, and will pay, Bose, for every drop. I have $1. Bose. Oh, you have? So you were holding out on us when you... Squire. No. I've acquired it since then. Bose. Where did you get it? Gabby. Probably off those rich people. Probably those rich people gave it to him. Now lay off. Kitchen door opens and Piles appears. Piles. Here's some clothesline, boss. Duke. Throw it down. Piles tosses coil on floor and vanishes into kitchen. Bose. So you turned down my dime and accepted their $1. Your pride has its price, huh? Squire. If you must know, I'll tell you the extent of my pride. Gabrielle gave me the $1. Bose to Gabby. You did? Gabby. It's none of your goddamn business what I do. Bose. You were feeling kind of generous tonight, weren't you? He turns to Squire. Would you like to know what she was just going to give me when those rats showed up? Would you like to know? Gabby. Well, speaking of rats, of all the low, slimy, stinking... Squire. No, Gabby. You mustn't blame Bose for anything he says now. He's a man of muscle, and he's suffering from the pangs of frustration. Gabby. I say, you're a dirty, low, stinking Bose. I didn't mean it, Gabby. Gabby. Then why the hell did you start, Bose? I'm terribly sorry, honey sweet. They've got me absolutely crazy mad with those shotguns and machine guns staring me in the face. Squire. That's all it is. Bose. I didn't know what I was saying. Will you please forgive me, Gabby? Gabby. No. Never. Bose, humbly. All right. Squire. I sympathize with you utterly, Bose. Did you ever read All Quiet on the Western Front? Bose. No. Squire. Well, all of us here tonight are under very much the same tension. You'd better have a drink, old man. He has one himself. Bose, ignoring Squire. I love you, Gabby. Startled by this sudden declaration, Squire sets down his glass. I love you, sweetheart. And if I thought I'd done or said anything to hurt you, I'd go over and I'd hang one of those yeggs and die for it gladly. Please tell me you forgive me, honey sweet. Squire. Excuse me. He stands up. Would you rather I left? Jackie. Stay where you are. Squire. But I'm intruding. Jackie. Sit down. Squire sits. Gabby. It's all right, Alan. We've got nothing to hide. Have we, Bose? Bose. No. Worse luck. Gabby to Squire. I told you he'd been trying to make me. Bose. Now listen, Gabby. And tonight, just after you left, he went at it again. And I decided I was ready to give in to him and find out what it's like. Bose. That's a dirty trick, telling that before a total stranger. Squire. To Bose. Honestly, Bose, I'm not blaming you. Not for an instant. Gabby to Bose. I'll say this much for you. You're a pretty good lovemaker when you get going. Bose. I wasn't turning on any act. I told you I was full of love and I was telling the truth, and I don't care who knows it. Jackie has risen and started to cross toward the left with map. Full of love, are you, halfback? Duke. And don't let that Mexican hear you mention the names of any of those towns. Jackie. I'll be careful, Duke. I don't want to die. I got a dame, too. To Bose. Keep it up, halfback. I'm rooting for you. Touchdown. He goes into kitchen. Bose. To Gabby. It doesn't make any difference to you what I'm trying to tell you, because you don't know what it means to be really crazy about somebody. She looks at him, through him for a moment. Gabby. For all you know, maybe I do. Bose. I don't believe it. Who have you ever... Duke. Give me a cigar, will you, sister? Gabby, rising. We've got Admiration, White Owl, and Texas Dandies. Duke. Whatever costs the most. Gabby has gone back of counter to get a cigar box, which she takes down to Duke. Gramp. You fellers gonna spend the night here? Duke. Can't say, Pop. Maybe we'll decide to get buried here. Gabby hands him a box of cigars and he takes a fistful. Thanks. Squire. You'd better come with me, Duke. I'm planning to be buried in the Petrified Forest. I've been evolving a theory about that would interest you. It's the graveyard of the civilization that's been shot from under us. It's the world of outmoded ideas. Platonism, patriotism, Christianity, romance, the economics of Adam Smith. There are all so many dead stumps in the desert. That's where I belong. And so do you, Duke. For you're the last great apostle of rugged individualism, aren't you? Duke has been calmly defoiling a cigar, biting the end off and lighting it. Maybe you're right, pal. Squire, returning to his drink. I'm eternally right. But what use do I make of it? Duke. I couldn't say. Bose to Gabby, who is resuming her seat. Who were you ever crazy about? Gabby. Is it any of your business? Bose. Everything about you is my business. Gabby. Well, if you've got to know, it's him. Squire, startled. What? Gabby. I was just telling Bose that I'm crazy about you. Bose. That panhandler? Gabby. You don't know the worst of him. He's more than a panhandler. He's a gigolo. Bose. Did you ever see him before? Gabby. No. But that doesn't matter. I love him. I don't think I'll ever love anybody else. Squire. Can I possibly be drunk? Gabby. You will be if you keep hitting that rye. Bose. How did you happen to get that way, Gabby? Gabby. I don't know. Just something. Squire. I swear before God, Bose, I wasn't trying to be seductive. Bose, scornfully. No. I don't believe you could even try. Gabby. After you left, Alan, I felt as if something had been taken out of me. Or sort of as if I'd come out of a dream. I caught on to myself. And I knew I'm just another desert rat, and I'll never be anything else. I better get rid of all the girlish bunk that was in me. Like thinking so much about going to France, and art, and dancing in the streets. And I better make the most of what I can find right here. And it happened to be you, Bose. Do you know what I asked him? I asked him to let me go away with him and to live in sin. She turns again to Squire. But you wouldn't have done it. Even if we'd had the money, would you, Alan? Squire is looking straight into her eyes. Would you? Squire. No, Gabrielle. Gabby to Bose. You see? He doesn't give a hoot in hell for me. I saw that plainly enough, and it only made me love him all the more. And that's why I was willing to go out into the moonlight with you when Duke Manty came in. Duke. I'm sorry, sister, I don't like to interfere with anybody's fun. Bose, with labored insincerity. Oh, that's all right. It was probably all for the best. Duke. Yes. When I look at you, I guess it was. Duke turns and opens window at his side about 3 inches. Squire, still looking at Gabby. I'm sorry now that I came back. Bose has started to look at Duke, and there is born in his mind an idea. By a sudden tiger-like leap, he might get possession of shotgun which is lying on table. Bose. I'll take a drink of that stuff. Gabby passes him bottle which has remained on table. Bose pours himself a stiff one, drinks it, and a moment later pours and consumes another. But he is constantly furiously watching Duke. Squire, still looking at Gabby. When I went out before, it was the poignant ending to an idyllic interlude. But now it's spoiled. I can't go forth quite so gracefully again. Gabby. You're sorry you heard the real truth? Squire. I told you that I'm the type of person to whom the truth is always distasteful. Gabby. That wife of yours must have been terrible. Squire. Why do you think so? Gabby. Because she's talked all the heart out of you. I could put it back, Alan. Squire, with sudden irritability. No, don't delude yourself. If you have love and don't know what to do with it, why don't you lavish it on Duke Manty? There's your real mate, another child of nature. Gabby. You'd better not drink any more of that rye. Squire. It's not the rye. It's the same disease that's afflicting Bose. Impotence. He stands up. Duke. Sit down, pal. Squire. What do you care whether I sit or stand? What can I do to assail your superiority? Duke. I gotta think about my health, pal. Squire. If I had a machine gun, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I want to talk to him. Indicating Gramp. Gramp. Me? Duke. You can talk sitting down. I heard you doing it. Squire, sitting down. Very well. Gramp. What's on your mind? Squire. Those Liberty bonds of yours, buried in Santa Fe. Gramp, sharply. How do you know about them? Squire. What are you going to do with them? Gramp. Going to leave them where they are. Squire. Yes. Leave them where they are. Your granddaughter is stifling and suffocating in this desert when a few of your thousands would give her the chance to claim her birthright. Gramp. Yes. And to maybe give you the chance to steal it. I've heard what you've been saying. Squire. That's a low way to justify your stinginess. Oh, I know you were a pioneer once, but what are you now? A mean old miser, hanging on to that money as though it meant something. Why in God's name don't you die and do the world some good? Gramp. Must be drunk. Duke, rising menacingly. Yes, drunk. Or just about the lowest grade son of a bitch I ever run across. What do you mean, talking to an old man like that? Ruby appears in the door. Ruby. Say, there's 3 people coming down the road. 2 men and a woman. Look to me like the owners of that Duesenberg. Duke. Okay. Keep quiet when they get here. Ruby. It's all right out here. You can see plain in the moonlight. It's kind of nice to look at, too. He goes out. Squire. I admit it, Duke. I was guilty of bad taste. And I apologize, Mr. Maple. Gramp, sure. Duke, you better crawl or I might have to put the lug on you, talking to an old man like that. Squire, listen, Duke. If you had any of Robin Hood in you, you'd go to Santa Fe and rob that bank and give it to her before it's too late for her to use it as it should be used. Gramp, she'll get it when she needs it. When she has a family of her own to support and probably a good-for-nothing unemployed husband. Duke turns to look out window. Bose sees his chance. He effects the tiger-like leap, seizes his shotgun, and wrests it from Duke's frantic grasp. Bose backs away quickly, covering Duke. Bose, breathless with excitement. Put him up. Now I've got you. I've been waiting for this chance. I've been watching every move you... Mr. and Mrs. Chisholm appear in the doorway, followed by Joseph. Seeing Bose with shotgun and Duke with hands up, Mrs. Chisholm screams. Bose whirls to cover them. As he does so, Duke whips out one of his revolvers and fires. Bose drops shotgun and grabs his left hand with his right. Kitchen door flies open and Jackie hurtles out. Duke, get that gun. As Jackie dives for shotgun, the Chisholms turn to rush into the night. Piles has followed Jackie out of kitchen, his machine gun at the alert, his mouth full. Ruby's voice from off-right. Get back there or I'll shoot you dead. Gabby, are you hurt, Bose? Duke to Jackie. Give me that Tommy. Jackie gives his machine gun to Duke. Mr. and Mrs. Chisholm and Joseph return, followed by Ruby. Bose. He got me in the hand. His left hand is seen to be covered with blood. Jackie. So you tried to be brave, did you? Duke. Frisk him, Ruby. Ruby hurriedly taps the Chisholms all over. Mrs. Chisholm. Let us out of here. We didn't have anything to do with this. Jackie. Shut up. Mrs. Chisholm. I won't have that man pawing me. Duke. Get back to the car, Ruby. Ruby. They're harmless, Duke. He goes. Duke, sit down over there. Come on. Step. You down there. Chisholm sit at the center table with Squire. Joseph sits upstage by the counter. Take him in and bandage him, sister. He'll be all right. Go with him, Jackie, and you better take that line and tie him up and leave him in there. Gabby and Bose cross toward the left. Jackie, picking up the clothesline. I'll tie him. Bose, to the Chisholms. God damn you, why did you have to pick that moment to come in here? Chisholm, why indeed? Gabby, come on, Bose. Bose, oh God, I had the chance and I muffed it. I could have got Manty and got him good. Jackie, tough luck, halfback. You made a nice try. Gabby and Bose go out at the left, followed by Jackie. Piles. Say, boss, we better lamb out of here. Duke. We go when I say so. Piles, contemplating the Chisholms. But if any more people come in here, we'll have to be sending out for recruits. Turns to Joseph. Hiya, colored brother. Joseph, with dignified asperity. Good evening. Duke, finish your supper, Piles. Piles. Sure you don't need me? They almost got you that time. Duke. Almost ain't good enough. Go on. Piles. Okay, boss. He goes out into kitchen. Gramp. Say, Manty, did you mean to hit him in the hand, or was that a bad shot? Duke. Quietly. It was a bad shot, Pop, but I had to get it off fast. Now listen. I'll let that mug make a mug out of me. But don't anybody try that again. Just keep in mind that I and the boys are candidates for hanging. And the minute anybody makes the wrong move, I'm going to kill the whole lot of you. So keep your seats. He returns his revolver to its holster, picks up Tommy gun, and sits down at right. There is a dead pause. Chisholm. Are you, Manty? Duke. Yes, pal. Mrs. Chisholm. I knew it was a mistake to take that hitchhiker into the car. Chisholm. I don't see what he had to do with it. Mrs. Chisholm. He certainly didn't help matters much. Squire was at first stunned by Bose's spectacular action. Then, as he thought it over, resentful. And then, as he thought still more, determined to do something spectacular himself. He has helped himself to another stiff slug of rye. Squire, gravely. I'm afraid that's unanswerable, Mr. Chisholm. I've not helped matters at all, up to now. He finishes his drink and turns to Duke. Would you mind passing me that rucksack that's on the bench beside you? Duke, what do you want with it? Squire, I want to get out my life insurance policy. If you reach in there, you'll find it, in a bundle of papers. Duke reaches with his left hand and extracts the papers. Gramp, what do you want with your insurance? Expecting to die? Squire, you've guessed it, Mr. Maple. Duke tosses his bundle to Squire. Thank you. Now, can I take out my fountain pen? Here it is. He points to his breast pocket. Duke nods. Squire takes out his pen and starts to write on policy. Chisholm to Duke. What about my car? Duke. That's a nice bus you got there. Chisholm. Are you going to restore it to me? And my luggage? Duke. You're likely to get the car back. Let's hope it won't be all full of bullet holes and blood. Mrs. Chisholm. There's one little traveling case with some things I need. Can I please have that? Duke. I took a look in that case. Mrs. Chisholm. You're gonna steal it? Duke. Yes, ma'am. I got a friend that likes rubies. Mrs. Chisholm. You're a filthy thief. Duke. Yes, ma'am. Chisholm. Look here, old man. How much will you take to let us out of here? Duke. How much have you got? Chisholm. I could let you have, say, $200 in cash. Duke. Bring it here. Chisholm walks timorously over to Duke, produces his wallet, and starts to take out some bills. Just put down the whole wallet. Chisholm does so with trembling hands. Got any more? Chisholm patting his pants pockets. Only some small change. Duke, keep it. Mrs. Chisholm rising. Now can we go? Duke. No. Chisholm. But I understood that you... Duke. Sit down where you were. Mrs. Chisholm. You are a cheap, contemptible, crooked thief. Chisholm. Be quiet, Edith. He resumes his seat. We're in his hands. There's nothing we can do but hope that someday the United States government will take some measures to protect the lives and property of its citizens. Duke has been calmly taking all the money from wallet. Duke. Here's your wallet, pal. He tosses it to Chisholm, who stoops to pick it up. Squire has finished writing. He turns to Duke and from now on speaks rapidly with a peculiar earnestness. Squire. Duke, I have a great favor to ask of you. Duke. Yeah? Squire. I don't think you'll refuse it, because you're a man of imagination. You're not afraid to do rather outlandish things. Duke. What are you getting at? Squire. This insurance policy. It's my only asset. It's for $5,000 and it was made out in favor of my wife. She's a rich woman and she doesn't need that money. And I know she doesn't want it from me. I've written on the policy that I want the money paid to Miss Maple, that young lady in there. If Mr. and Mrs. Chisholm will witness my signature, I'm sure it will be all right. My wife would never contest it. She's a good sort. Really, she is. Well, what I'm getting at is this, Duke. After they've signed, I wish I'd be much obliged if you'd just kill me. Duke looks at him levelly. It couldn't make any difference to you, Duke. After all, if they catch you, they can hang you only once. And you know better than anyone else they already have more than they need against you. And you can't be bothered by any humane considerations. You'd have a hard time finding a more suitable candidate for extermination. I'll be mourned by no one. In fact, my passing will evoke sighs of relief in certain quarters. You see, Duke, in killing me, you'd only be executing the sentence of the law. I mean, natural law. Survival of the fittest. Gramp. My God, he is drunk. Duke. Sure, and having a fine time showing off. Squire. Of course I'm showing off. I'm trying to outdo Bose in gallantry. But is there anything unnatural in that? Bose was ready to sacrifice his life to become an all-American star, and I'm ready to do likewise. He addresses the Chisholms. Can't you see I mean it? Chisholm. I'm afraid I'm not greatly interested in your whimsicalities. Squire. I don't blame you, but you must remember that this is a weird country we're in. These mesas are enchanted, and you have to be prepared for the improbable. I'm only asking that you attest to my signature on this, Mrs. Chisholm. I believe you do mean it. Squire. Good for you, Mrs. Chisholm. You're a kindred spirit. I'll bet that you, too, have been thrilled by A Tale of Two Cities. Mrs. Chisholm. You're in love with her, aren't you? Squire. Yes. Yes, I suppose I am. And not unreasonably. She has heroic stuff in her. She may be one of the immortal women of France, another Joan of Arc, or George Sand, or Madame Curie. I want to show her that I believe in her. And how else can I do it? Living, I'm worth nothing to her. Dead, I can buy her the tallest cathedrals in golden vineyards and dancing in the streets. One well-directed bullet will accomplish that, and it will gain a measure of reflected glory for him who fired it and him who stopped it. He holds up insurance policy. This document will be my ticket to immortality. It will inspire people to say of me, there was an artist who died before his time. Will you do it, Duke? Duke, quietly. I'll be glad to. Squire. Then can I have this signed? Duke. Sure. Chisholm the Gramp. Is he by any chance insane? Gramp. Don't ask me. He's no friend of mine. Mrs. Chisholm. Of course he's insane. But what of it? Squire gives her policy and pen. Squire. Thank you, Mrs. Chisholm. Please sign where I've written, witness this day. They start to sign. I'm going to entrust this to you, Mr. Maple. And after the Duke has obliged, put it in the hands of some good lawyer for collection. My passport is on that table for identification purposes. Thank you very much. As they hand him back policy. Here, Mr. Maple. He rises and hands policy to Gramp. Duke. Let me know when you want to be killed. Squire. Pick your own moment, Duke. Say, just before you leave. He strides upstage nervously, aimlessly. But I prefer to have her think that you did it in cold blood. Will you all please remember that? Piles comes in. Duke. Okay, pal. But for the time being, you better sit down. You might get to feeling reckless. Squire sits down. Squire. I want to. Now, I think we'd all better have a drink. Mrs. Chisholm. Good. Squire to Piles. Would you mind passing glasses to Mr. and Mrs. Chisholm? Piles. Sure. He goes behind counter for glasses while Squire pours himself another. Say, boss, let's slam it out of here. I don't like all them big windows. He takes glasses down to the Chisholms. Duke. We gotta give them more time. Piles. You oughtn't to trust a dame. They probably got lost down there in the panhandle. Duke. They know this country like a book. Doris was the one who picked this place for meeting up. Piles. Well, I wish to God she'd show. Duke. Where's the cook? Piles. She's all right. I locked her up. Piles has been passing glasses around. Gramp has been reading policy carefully. He turns his attention to Piles. Gramp. Hey, I'll have a little of that too. Piles pouring a drink. Why, certainly. Duke, don't give it to him, Piles. The girl says he oughtn't to have it. Squire, better not, Mr. Maple. We'll all need clear hands for what is to come. Gramp, my head's never been muddled yet. Piles to Joseph. Here, brother, you better take it. Joseph, is it all right, Mr. Chisholm? Piles, ashamed for his race. Listen to him. Is it all right, Mr. Chisholm? Ain't you heard about the big liberation? Come on, take your drink, weasel. Chisholm, go ahead, Joseph. Joseph, thank you, sir. Piles hands his drink to Joseph, then crosses to right and sits down on bench by Duke. Gramp has finished inspection of policy and is putting it in his pocket. Squire, do you think it's legal? Gramp, seems so to me. But I'd like to tell you just one thing, my friend. Squire, and what is that, Mr. Maple? Gramp, there ain't a woman alive or ever did live that's worth $5,000. Squire, and let me tell you one thing. You're a forgetful old fool. Any woman is worth everything that any man has to give. Anguish, ecstasy, faith, jealousy, love, hatred, life, or death. Don't you see? That's the excuse for our existence. It's what makes the whole thing possible and tolerable. When you've reached my age, you'll learn better sense. Mrs. Chisholm to her husband. Did you hear that? Chisholm wearily. I heard. Squire to Gramp. That lovely girl, that granddaughter of yours, do you know what she is? No, you don't. You haven't the remotest idea. Gramp, what is she? Squire, she's the future. She's the renewal of vitality and courage and aspiration. All the strength that has gone out of you. Hell, I can't say what she is, but she's essential to me and the whole damned country and the whole miserable world. And please, Mrs. Chisholm, please don't look at me quizzically. I know how I sound. Mrs. Chisholm to Squire. I'm wondering if you really believe all that. I mean, about women. She's already had one stiff drink and is about to have another. Squire. Of course I do. And there's a man who agrees with me, indicating Duke. Don't you, Duke? Duke. I don't know, pal. I wasn't listening. Squire. Then permit me to speak for you. He turns again to Mrs. Chisholm. He could have been over the border long ago and safe, but he prefers to stay here and risk his life. And do you know why? Mrs. Chisholm. Why? Squire. Because he has a rendezvous here with the girl. Isn't that true, Duke? Duke. Yes, pal, that's it. Mrs. Chisholm to Duke. Do you mean to say you never have time for romance? Duke. Not much, lady. Squire. Certainly he has, just like the Knights of the Round Table between dragons. Duke. I guess we're all a lot of saps. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was the champion. He turns to Squire. Did you think I was kidding when I said I'd be glad to knock you off? Squire. I hope that neither of us was kidding. Did you think I was? Duke. I just wanted to make sure. Piles. Say. What you talking about? Duke. Shut up. Squire. You gave me the idea, Duke, when you called me a low-grade son of a bitch. Forgive me, Mrs. Chisholm. I hope you don't object to that phrase. Mrs. Chisholm. Not in the least. Duke. I take it back. You're all right, pal. You've got good ideas. I'll try to fix it so it won't hurt. Squire raising his glass. You're all right too, Duke. I'd like to meet you again someday. He drinks. Duke, maybe it'll be soon. Mrs. Chisholm. You know, this frightful place has suddenly become quite cozy. She finishes her second drink. Squire. That's my doing, Mrs. Chisholm. You ought to thank me for having taken it out of the realms of reality. Mrs. Chisholm excitedly. I'm going to see something at last. And after that dreadful dull day looking at cliff dwellings, she turns to her husband. Do you realize that we're going to be witnesses at murder? He's actually going to shoot him. Squire, shh. Please be careful, Mrs. Chisholm. Gabby comes in from left, followed by Jackie. Hello. How's Bose? Gabby, he'll be all right. Piles, did you tie him up good? Jackie, yeah, in the bathroom. Say, Duke, it's after 10 o'clock. Piles, yes, boss. Duke, we'll give him a few more minutes. Squire, significantly. A few minutes. Duke, with a slight grin. Not so much more time, pal. Jackie wanders out for a visit with Ruby. Gabby. Listen, Gramp. I've got an idea we ought to sell out right away, tomorrow. It's the best chance we'll ever have, because this place is going to get advertised all over the country and people will be flocking here just to see where Duke Manty stopped. I'll bet Dana Trimble will boost his offer, sure. She is standing by table at left. Gramp, significantly. You're still aiming to take that trip to France? Gabby. No, the hell with that. I'm asking you to do it for Dad's sake. Let him get located in Los Angeles. And maybe I'll find that writer with Warner Brothers, and maybe I'll get a job, and then we'll all be rich. Gramp. Don't sound likely to me. Gabby. You can't tell, Gramp. There might be a great feature for Dad in the Legion. That's what he wants, and you ought to give him a whack at it. Squire. Would you be content with that? Gabby, savagely. I'm not thinking about myself. I don't care what happens to me. Squire. But you must think about yourself. You want to be a great painter, don't you? Then you'll have to get used to being a colossal egoist, selfish to the core. Gabby, are you going to give me more advice? You and your talk about nature? I thought you told me never to listen to you. Squire, I did, but... Gabby, well, that's all the advice I'm going to take. She turns away from him. Mrs. Chisholm, do you mind if I speak up, my dear? Perhaps I could tell you some things that... Gabby, what do you know about me? Chisholm, nothing. If I were you, Edith, I'd keep out of... Mrs. Chisholm, turning on him. You haven't the remotest conception of what's inside me, and you never have had, and never will have as long as you live out your stuffy, astigmatic life. She turns to Gabby. I don't know about you, my dear, but I know what it means to repress yourself and starve yourself through what you conceive to be your duty to others. I've been through that. When I was just about your age, I went to Salzburg because I had had a nervous breakdown after I came out and went to a psychoanalyst there, and he told me I had every right to be a great actress. He gave me a letter to Max Reinhardt, and I might have played the nun in The Miracle. But my family, of course, started yapping about my obligation to them, who had given me everything, including life. At least they called it life. They whisked me back to Dayton to take my place in the Junior League, and the Country Club, and the DAR, and everything else that's foul and obscene. And before I knew it, I was married to this pillar of the Mortgage and Loan Trust. And what did he do? He took my soul and had it stenciled on a card and filed. And where have I been ever since? In an art metal cabinet. That's why I think I have a little right to advise you. Chisholm, closing his tired eyes. Dear God. Mrs. Chisholm, you needn't look so martyred. You know perfectly well that until this minute I've never complained. I've managed to play the part of a self-effacing Chisholm. His eyes are now open. Never complained, eh? Forgive me if I indulge in some quiet, mirthless laughter. Mrs. Chisholm, what you've wanted is a wife who is an ornamental cipher. And God knows I've tried and tried to be just that. Chisholm, when? Mrs. Chisholm, I've given you what you wanted at the cost of my individuality, my self-respect, and everything else. Chisholm, at the cost of nothing. I suppose you've never come storming into the office and created a scene just when I was straining every faculty to find ways to pay for it. Mrs. Chisholm to Gabby. There, my dear. Chisholm. Your insane extravagance. Mrs. Chisholm. Be quiet. Chisholm abandons the argument, as is his wont. Mrs. Chisholm again to Gabby. Perhaps you'll understand now what I mean. Profit by my example and realize that perhaps you have something important to give to the world. Don't let them stifle you with their talk about duty. Go to France and find yourself. Grant. Suppose she learns there's nothing to find. Mrs. Chisholm. Even so, it would be better than endless doubt, which has been my portion. She pours herself another drink. Gabby sits down at left. Squire. You know, it's the damnedest thing about this place. There's something here that stimulates the autobiographical impulse. To Duke. What kind of life have you had, Duke? Duke. A hell of a life. Mrs. Chisholm. I don't believe it. Duke. Why not, lady? Jackie returns and sits on a stool at counter. Mrs. Chisholm. Because you've had the one supreme satisfaction of knowing that at least you're a real man. Chisholm again shuts his eyes. Duke. Yeah, that's true. But what has it got me? I've spent most of my time since I grew up in jail, and it looks like I'll spend the rest of my life dead. So what good does it do me to be a real man when you don't get much chance to be crawling into the hay with some dame? Mrs. Chisholm, after a slight, thoughtful pause. I wonder if we could find any hay around here. Chisholm, past vehemence. For the love of God, Edith. Jackie, say, what's been going on here? Squire, I'm not sure, but I think the Duke has had an offer. Mrs. Chisholm, he certainly has, and it was made with all sincerity, too. Piles, now listen, boss, don't you go getting into no hay with her. Perhaps we got a lamb out of here. Duke, thanks very much, lady. When I get settled down in Mexico, maybe I'll send you a postcard with my address. Squire, excuse me, Duke, but how's the time getting along? Duke, it's just about up, pal. Squire, turning to Gabby. I must talk to you, Gabrielle. Gabby, you can wait until after they're gone. Squire, I can't wait. I mean, when they go, I go. I have to tell you now that I love you. Gabby, now listen, Ellen. I got sort of upset by all that blood, and I don't want to... Squire, I tell you solemnly that I love you, with all the heart that is left in me. Jackie, are we waiting just to listen to this? Mrs. Chisholm, he does love you, my dear. He told us so. Squire, please, Mrs. Chisholm, I'm capable of saying it. He turns to Gabby. Even if I'm not capable of making you believe that I... Gabby, don't make a fool of yourself, Ellen. They're all staring at you. Squire, I know they are, but you've got to believe it, and you got to remember it, because, you see, it's my only chance of survival. I told you about that major artist that's been hidden. I'm transferring him to you. You'll find a line in that verse of Villon's that fits that. Something about, thus in your field my seed of harvestry will thrive. I provided barren soil for that seed, but you'll give it fertility and growth and fruition. Piles. Listen, boss, I got a wife and 4 children. Mrs. Chisholm. Be quiet. Piles. Will you call me? He rises, his machine gun at the alert. Duke. She pegged you all right, Piles. Sit down. Somewhat reluctantly, Piles obeys. Squire. You still think I was being comic? Gabby. No, Alan. I just think that you're kind of crazy. And I guess so am I. And that's why I think we'd be terribly happy together. Squire looks into her eyes. Squire. Don't say that, Gabrielle. Gabby. Why not, when I believe it with all my heart? Squire, after a moment. Well, maybe you're right. Gabby. You're beginning to admit it. Squire. Maybe we will be happy together in a funny kind of way. Gabby. Alan! Impulsively, she goes forward and kneels beside him. Jackie. Hey! Duke, leave him alone. Gabby. Alan! If you're going away, I'm going with you, wherever it is. Squire, taking hold of her hand. No, Gabrielle. I'm not going away anywhere. I don't have to go any farther, because I think I found the thing I was looking for. I found it, here in the Valley of the Shadow. Gabby. What, Ellen? What have you found? Squire. I can't say what it is, Gabrielle, but I don't quite know yet. He looks into her eyes for a moment, then turns suddenly to Duke. All right, Duke. We needn't wait any longer. 3 sharp toots from the Duesenberg are heard. Duke, watch it, boys. Piles and Jackie hastily duck out of range of windows. Chisholm, what was that? Joseph, it was our horn, Mr. Chisholm. Jackie is by door. Duke by right window. Piles is crouched, covering those in the room. Jason's voice. Who's that? Ruby's voice. Stick up your hands. Duke has leveled his machine gun through the slightly open window. Duke, we've got you covered by machine guns. Open that door, Jackie. Come on, boys. Walk in the front door and keep 'em up. Cover the door, Jackie. Jackie, I got it. Duke, come on. Keep coming. Jason comes in, followed by 2 fellow legionnaires. One the commander, a peppery little man, and another who is burly and stupid. All are in the same gaudy uniforms and all look bewildered. Get those guns, Jackie. Jackie systematically disarms legionnaires. He tosses guns into ammunition sack. Ruby comes to door. Ruby, all clear out here. Duke, is there a car in our way? Ruby, no, it's a good mask. Duke, okay. Get back to the car. Ruby disappears into the night. Jason, is this a stick-up? Jackie, what a guesser. Gramp. Say, Jason, that there's Duke Manty. Been here all evening. He and his gang picked this place out of the whole Southwest. Duke, what's that uniform you're wearing? Jason, it's the Ralph M. Kesterling post of the American Legion. Commander, I'm the commander of this post, buddy, and I want to tell you that all of us men fought in the World War. You wouldn't shoot us down in cold blood. Jackie, cheerfully. Sure we would. Duke, sit down, boys. Another legionnaire, very basso. Where? Jackie, on your cans, Legion. Duke, down there on the floor in a bunch and stay there. With some little sacrifice of dignity, legionnaires sit down on floor in a huddle in center. Why did you come here? Jason, this is where I live. Gabby, that's my father. Duke, why did you bring the whole regiment with you? Commander, we were trailing you, and by God we caught up with... Jason, shut up, Commander. The less we talk, the better for all concerned. Jackie, some legion, out gunning for the bad men, and look at him now. Duke, what made you think I'd come? What made you think I'd be around here? Commander, they caught your pals. Other, 3 men and a blonde. Piles, don't you try to go get him out now, boss. Duke, where was it? There is no reply. Duke continues with unwanted ferocity. Come on, tell me, or I'll tear holes a yard wide in the pansy uniforms. Jason, they caught him at Buckhorn. Duke, where's that? Piles pulls map from his pocket. Other, it's in New Mexico, about 100 miles southeast of here. Duke, when? Jason, I don't know. Commander, we heard it half an hour ago. Every man in the state that can bear arms has turned out to Piles. Here it is, boss. Buckhorn on Route 11. Jackie, how'd they get him? Commander, it was the regular army. Other, your friends run right into a troop of the U.S. cavalry. Jason, I warn you, Manty, you better get out of town for your own good. Duke, is anybody else coming this way? Jason, I don't know. I swear to God I don't. But there are posses all around here, and I don't want to get this place shot up. Commander, you got the whole mighty strength of this nation after you now, buddy. Jackie, listen, Legion. When we're got it, it will be by real cops, not by any overgrown Boy Scouts in fancy dress. Jason, all right. You can talk big if you want to, but I'll tell you that the woman in that car has been doing some talking. Duke, after a moment. What? Jackie. It was Doris. She snitched. They always snitch. Duke, shut up. To Jason. What were you saying? Jason, I'm telling you for your own good, Manty. They know where you were heading. They've picked up your trail and they'll get you. Jackie. She has snitched. Come on, Duke. Squire, don't listen to them, Duke. Squire is leaning forward, watching Duke with great intentness. He sees that Duke, for once, has been propelled into a state of turbulent, agonized indecision. Piles, come on, boss, or we're all dead. Commander, the law's closing in on you. Jackie, what's the matter with you, Duke? Why the hell don't you... Duke, with sudden savagery. For Christ's sake, shut up. Shut up. Give me time to think. Squire, urgently. No, Duke, don't waste any time thinking. This isn't your game. Don't listen to what they're telling you. You've got to keep going and going and going. Piles, yeah, and go fast. Jackie, you've been double-crossed and bitched, and the next thing you'll be laid flat on a marble slab. Duke, where'd they take her? Jason, I don't know. Maybe to Albuquerque. Jackie, if we head for there, they'll take us. Squire, you want revenge, don't you? You want to go out of your way again to get that blonde who snitched. Don't do it, Duke. Even if she did betray you, don't you commit a worse crime. Don't betray yourself. Go on, run for the border and take your illusions with you. Jackie, he's right, Duke. Duke, I told you to shut up. He says that to Jackie, but he's looking hard at Squire, who is talking with passionate earnestness. Squire, you know they're going to get you anyway. You're obsolete, Duke. Like me. You've got to die. Then die for freedom. That's worth it. Don't give up your life for anything so cheap and unsatisfactory as revenge. Piles, I hear a car coming, boss. We better lamb. Duke looks at Squire curiously for a moment. Duke, all right, pal. I'm going. Now listen, folks, we've had a pleasant evening here, and I'd hate to spoil it with any killing at the finish. So stay where you are until we're out of sight, because we'll be watching. Better cut the phone wire, Jackie. Pack up the ammunition piles. Piles and Jackie are galvanized into action. Squire, wait a minute. You're not forgetting me. Jackie is opening his knife. Piles is picking up ammunition sack, and Duke is covering all when the Duesenberg horn is heard again. Duke, Piles, and Jackie duck. Duke peering out window. Car stopped out in the road. There's a guy with a rifle. Piles, cops? Duke, looks like it. Jackie, Hicks or G's? Duke, Hicks. Lay low. Commander, it's the sheriff. He's got you, Manty. Jason, I warned you. You better surrender now before they start. A burst of machine gun fire is heard from left. Piles, that's Ruby shooting. Duke, that goddamn fool. Get out there to that window, Jackie, and tell him to hold his fire. We don't want him drilling that car. Jackie starts to go. Wait! Tell him to open up if they try to drift around that side. Jackie. Okay. Stooped over, he goes to door at lower left and out. Jason. You have no right to endanger the lives of innocent people. You'd better surrender. Duke, get behind that counter, Piles, and keep this mob in here covered. Piles. Okay, boss. He crouches on the left end of counter. Duke is marvelously alert, crouching by window, muzzle of his gun thrust out. What are they doing now, boss? Duke delivers a short burst of machine gun fire out the window. Duke, they're crawling into the sagebrush on the other side of the road. Where are them pans? Piles. The sack's right here beside you. A shot from outside shatters one of the window panes. Boy, I know this place wasn't safe. Wails are heard from Paula off at left. Duke. You folks better get down. Lie down, all of you, close together in the middle. Watch him, Piles. Piles, I'm watching. All hasten to obey so that they are lying flat on their stomachs close together. Jackie returns. Jackie. Okay, Duke. Duke. Where's the light switch? Graham. To the right of the door. Duke. Turn him out, Jackie. Jackie turns out lights. Chisholm to his wife. Do you want any hay now? The strip of faces and feet of the prone is illumined by the glow of the light from door at right. Through windows and panes of door come bright moonlight and the green neon gleam to illumine dimly Duke and Jackie. Duke, get to the kitchen door, Jackie. Hold your fire unless they try to rush it. They'll try to work around that direction to the shadow of that mesa. It's their only cover. When they get around there, we'll lamb. Jackie, how many are there? Duke, 6 or 7. Nothing to worry about. Another shot from outside. When enough of them get across that road, give them a couple of bursts to scare them and then snap back here. And watch yourself, kid. Jackie, okay, Duke. He crosses the line of bodies. Commander, ouch! Still another shot from outside breaks a window. Jackie has gone out at left. Bose's voice can be heard shouting, "Let me out of here! Let me out of here!" Paula can be heard wailing prayers and imprecations in Spanish. Duke, keeping him covered, Piles? Piles, I've got him, boss. I got him. The subsequent dialogue is punctuated with shots from outside and bursts from Duke's Tommy gun. Squire, it's an inspiring moment, isn't it, Gabrielle? The United States of America versus Duke Manty. A volley from Sheriff's posse and neon light goes out. Jason, they've absolutely wrecked the neon. Gramp, it's them deputies shooting. Probably all drunk. Squire, it almost restores in me the will to live and love and conquer. Chisholm, listen, Edith. If I'm killed... Mrs. Chisholm, what did you say? Chisholm, I said if I'm killed and you're not... Notify Jack Lavery. He has full instructions. Mrs. Chisholm, turning away. All right. Commander, hey, Manty, you're not going to let him rush us, are you? Duke replies with another burst. Piles, getting any of them, boss? Duke, can't get a good angle on them, but they're drifting over, and Jackie will get him. Squire, I feel as if I were sitting on top of a mountain, in the middle of Penguin Island, watching the odd little creatures. Mrs. Chisholm starts to hum. How do you feel about it, darling? Gabby. I don't know, Alan, and I don't care. Jason. I wish to God you'd stop that praying. Mrs. Chisholm. I'm not praying, I'm singing. By now it is apparent that the attackers have been drifting over. The sound of shots comes more from left. Piles. Why ain't Jackie shooting? Duke. The kid knows what he's doing. Commander. If you let him rush us, it'll be a massacre. Gabby. Alan, when you get to France, what do you see first? Squire. Customs officers? Gabby. But what's the first real sight you see? Squire. The fields and forests of Normandy. And then, Gabby. What, Alan? Squire. And then, Paris. Piles. I better tell Jackie to open up. Duke. Stay where you are. Gabby. Paris. That's the most marvelous place in the world for love, isn't it? Squire. All places are marvelous. Gabby. Even here. Squire. Especially here, my darling. Joseph, swaying and chanting. O Lord, it is the judgment of thy wrath on these, thy poor sinful children. More wails from Paula and shouts from Bose. Jason. The next thing you know, those gas pumps will be up in flames. Squire. As long as I live, I'll be grateful to the Duke. Gabby. Alan, will you please kiss me? He kisses her. Duke delivers a final prolonged burst, then turns from window. Duke. Okay, Piles, we're pulling out. Get Jackie. Piles ducks into kitchen. The shooting from left is now intense. Squire. Oh, Lord. Now it's going to be all over. Gabby clinging to him. Not for us, Alan. Never. Piles returning. Jackie's got killed. Duke. How the hell did he do that? Piles. I don't know, boss. Duke. Well, we've got to leave him. You and you and you and you are coming with us to hang on in the running board. We got to have shields. He has designated the Chisholms, Joseph, and the 2 Legionnaires. Chisholm. Me? Mrs. Chisholm. All right. I don't care what happens to me now. I don't care a bit. Commander, for God's sake, buddy, don't let us get shot down like Joseph. Oh, Lord God of Abraham, oh holy Lord. Other legionnaire, this is the country I was ready to die for. The foregoing is all jumbled together. Gramp. Me too? Duke. No, not you, Pop. Come on your feet. Get moving out through that door. They won't shoot at you. You won't none of you get hurt if you keep your hands up and make plenty of noise. Come on, keep moving. Piles. And we're in one hell of a hurry. He is herding them out. Their hands are up and they are shouting lustily. All. Don't shoot. Don't shoot, for God's sake, buddies, don't shoot. Duke is in the doorway, a crouched silhouette against the moonlit desert. His machine gun is under his left arm, his revolver in his right hand. Duke to those remaining. You better stay where you are for a while. Good night, folks. Squire springing to his feet. Duke! Gabby. Alan, keep down. Squire. Duke. Duke. Do you still want it? Squire. Desperately. It's no matter whether I want it or not. You've got to. Duke. Okay, pal. He shoots. Squire spins against the lunch counter. Gabby screams. I'll be seeing you soon. He goes. Gramp. God almighty, he meant it. Gabby rushes to Squire. There are more wails from Paulette and shouts from Bose, but the shooting has stopped. Jason. Keep down. The motor of the car is heard starting. Door at left bursts open and Sheriff comes in holding a rifle. Behind him are Herb and two deputies with rifles, pistols, shotguns. Sheriff. Where'd they go? Jason, rising. Out there. Herb. Full of enthusiasm and moan. Let's get him, Sheriff. Come on, fellers. We'll shoot him dead. Sheriff starts for door and bumps into Jason. Gabby. Gramp. Go get Bose. He knows about first aid. Gramp goes out at left. Sheriff. Get out of my way, you clumsy... Sheriff goes out front door, followed by deputies and Herb. They take cover and raise their rifles. Jason. Those are innocent people on the running board. He switches on lights. Herb. Never mind him. Let's shoot the hell out of him. He shoots. Sheriff. Goddamn, come on, we'll go after him. He turns out of sight. Voice of another deputy. Can't drive that car, the tires are all shot. Sheriff's voice. Here's a car we can take. Jason. Wait a minute, that's my car. You've done enough damage to my property. Herb's voice. Ah, shut up. Squire lurches toward center table. Gabby steadies him and helps him to slump down into a chair. Squire. It doesn't hurt. Or, at least it doesn't seem. It went into this lung, I think. He leans forward on table. Gabby. It's all right, Alan. Squire. It isn't all right, Gabrielle. I'm practically dead. Gabby. No, Alan, you said you wanted to live. Squire. I know I did. Gabby. And I'll live with you. I will. Squire looking up at her and smiling feebly. I know I said it. I was blinded then, but now I can see. Gabby shouting, Bose! Gramps, somebody come here quick! Squire, they were right, Gabrielle. I mean, the stars. I had to come all this way to find a reason. Well, if people only had guts, enough, they'd always find. He covers his eyes with his hand. Death is funny looking when... The Duke. Understand what it was. I hope you'll... His arms are stretched out on the table and his head has been sinking until it rests between them. Gabby. What, Alan? What did you say? She takes hold of his shoulder and frantically shakes him. Alan? He is finally silent. Her lip quivers, but she tightens her face. No, don't worry, Alan. I'm not going to be a goddamned crybaby about it. I know you died happy. Didn't you, Alan? Didn't you? After a moment, Bose comes in, followed by Gramp. Bose's right hand is in a blood-stained bandage. Bose. Are you all right, old kid? Gabby. I guess he's dead. Gramp. Sure he is. Manty couldn't have missed twice. Bose. Damned tough. He was a good guy at that. A wail from Paula is again heard. What's that? Gabby. It's Paula. Go in and let her out. Bose goes at it left. Gramp takes insurance policy from his pocket. Gramp. Listen, Gabby. Here's the funny thing. His life insurance for 5,000 berries. He made it out to you, and it looks regular. Said he wanted you to spend it on a trip to France to see your mother. Of course, I don't know if it's collectible, but by God, I'm going to get it to Summerfield in the morning. He puts policy back in his pocket. He was the damnedest feller I ever did see. He turns and crosses the left and sits down in his rocking chair. Couldn't make him out. Jason comes in quickly. Jason. Manty let him off the car about a quarter of a mile up the road. You can see him walking back. He sees Squire. Has he? Gramp. Yep, he's gone. Jason removing his cap. Poor feller. Well, he died a hero's death. We'll give him an honorable funeral. Gabby. We'll bury him out there in the Petrified Forest. Jason. What? Gabby. That's what he wanted. Gramp. Yes, by God, he said so. Jason starts up to phone behind counter. Jason. Well, maybe his next of kin will have something to say about that. I've got to phone the sheriff's office. They'll never catch Manty with my car unless he wrecks that Duesenberg. Hello? Hello? Give me the sheriff's office in Morenci. Yeah. Gabby is still standing close to Squire, her hands on his shoulder. Gabby, almost to herself. Thus in your field my seeds of harvestry will thrive, for the fruit is like me that I set. Bose comes to the kitchen laughing. Bose. Boy, it did me good to see that Jackie in a pool of blood. Gabby, louder, almost defiantly. God bids me tend it with good husbandry. This is the end for which we twain are met. Jason. Hello? Who's this? Oh, hello, Ernie. Bose wildly. Don't keep staring at him. Jason. Jason. Maple. Say, Manty was here and escaped south in a yellow Duesenberg. Ohio license plate. Sheriff went after him, but you gotta watch Route 71 and send out the alarm to watch Route 60. Yes, we had quite some shooting here. During this speech, the curtain has fallen. Curtain.